No! Just dropped a huge rock on. So I figured it's about time we start setting up the Apistogramma aquarium. Mind you, when I got these guys back in March, they've been in quarantine ever since, and I feel kind of bad with them just sitting in quarantine all this time. This entire racking system is going to revolve around, and since these are only 40-gallon aquariums, there's 6 of them, each one of these aquariums, we're going to be doing like nano fish and like smaller fish. And if you're not familiar with the Apistogramma, it's basically a dwarf cichlid. The reason why I want to get this done and I'm taking a break from building the 180-gallon racks is quite simple. The podcast is coming back and I want the background to be finished aquariums, not empty tanks with the lights on. Now, the downside to any of this is that the Apistogramma are doing fantastic in their quarantine aquarium. They love the fact that they have a surplus of mulch and moss and pots and hiding places, and they're doing really well. The downside is I don't know who's who in there, because when I got them, there's just these tiny little brown specks and they're starting to develop. I don't clean that tank. I do water changes on it here and there, but I don't clean the glass. So it's going to be difficult to identify them in here. So it's going to be really exciting to see what we get when we add them to this aquarium. Now, when I ordered these guys in, they came straight from Peru, meaning that these guys are going to be responsibly wild caught and collected. So I got 4 different species, or at least variants, of Apistogramma, all of which are going to go into this aquarium. I want to keep this aquarium, the scape, incredibly basic, but on point with, what I feel like is going to look best in their natural habitat. And I think it's going to involve rocks and lots of wood, like branches, and of course some leaf litter and some sand, and that's pretty much going to be it. Now, mind you, all of these filters all of these aquariums are being filtered with sponge filters, so we also have to figure out a way to hide the sponges. Look at the leaves above these, isn't that pretty cool? This surrounds the entire gallery. It's just so awesome out here now. So the sponge filter's over here in the corner. I'm probably going to focus the scape of hiding the sponge filter. So I'll probably mostly put rocks over here and then have the wood come out, maybe. Tons of open swimming space, sand in the bottom, leaf litter. Let's just get started. No! Just dropped a huge rock on that. These aren't real. They're from aquadecorbackgrounds.com. These are the only fake things that are in here, and they also make the backgrounds, but I had to do that. I know every time I pick up heavy rocks and I'm putting them in a fish tank, I'm always scared I'm going to drop them, but no fear of it doing with this. Okay, so, yeah. And we've already hidden the sponge filter in the tank beside it. You can't even see it. So we're gonna do the same thing. Sponge filters technically are pretty ugly to look at, but it's not that bad. Especially if you can figure out a way to hide them and whatnot. And what I'm going to attempt to do is make some cave structures and whatnot with these rocks. Have the plants or the wood kind of encompass them, so to speak. I also try to kind of fit them together almost at times. I always do what I think looks good, and in the wild, things are not strategically placed. We're going to be using some really big pieces of manzanita as well. And this scape should be actually relatively easy to do. I'm going with manzanita on this one because the background is clearly wood as well. And these guys, I can tell you, it's probably just going to be a matter of time before they start breeding. So, kind of want to keep that in mind as well. Yeah, see, this is going to look fantastic. You won't even see the sponge filter in the back there. I do want to make sure I can pull it out easily if I ever, when I want to clean it and whatnot, and it's not going to be a problem. It'll be simple. Yeah, this is going to be such a simple scape, but I'm really going to like it. I think you guys will too. I don't like this rock here. I love having wood that kind of causes shadows and goes over all of the rocks and whatnot, keeping it looking like a little bit more natural. So with the main pieces installed and the main idea of what I'm looking to do, which is basically just a smorgasbord of wood in there, now I can start adding in some of the smaller pieces and whatnot, kind of finishing it off. I always think it's a good idea, if you're going to be using wood, to, especially if it's bent in any way, it's fantastic because you can put this on a rock and it's going to look like that grew over the rock. So I try to do that sometimes. Actually, I do that every time. Yeah, so many hiding spaces. They're going to love this tank. I want to keep it really basic, simple. I want wood everywhere. You know, and Lord knows I might end up not liking it as much as I thought I was going to, and we can always make changes and whatnot. Plus, a lot of this wood's probably going to float for a few days, so I'm going to have to fix it anyway. I also like to put wood in between the roots and the rocks and let them grow all around it. And I think that's it, isn't it? I think that's. Let's put the lights before I decide. You know, this is as long as I'll spend scaping a tank. I think about where the fish are going to hide, how they're actually going to interact with it. I can assure you they don't care. And I think Apistogramma deserve to be in like a messy tank, just as they would in the wild, but it's not very clean or well constructed. But for a dwarf cichlid, these guys do well in darn near any type of aquarium. They're really popular for planted tanks. Yeah, this is gonna be great. Watch this. So this tank I actually have to redo because a lot of these shell dwellers and a lot of these shells, like half of it, is being taken out of here and putting into a 180-gallon lake tank, a Yucca tank, and then these guys, a separate colony will stay here. And we'll see what happens in comparison to a colony that's by themselves versus a colony that's in a more natural setting with predators within the aquarium. Now, we've already done this, and they did just well, contrary to what literally everybody said, that they wouldn't make it. They definitely did. And then over here, so see here. So I like that. I like that a lot. Look, sponge filter back there. And yeah, I know they're gaudy, but now all I gotta do is pull that sponge filter out, rinse it every once in a while, every few weeks, if I even do that. I mean, the stocking in here is going to be so light, but it's gonna be so cool. So what I was looking to do, and the focus was to create a ton of cave systems and crevices and places for them to hide. I wanted visual barriers. At the end of the day, these guys are cichlids, so I do need visual blocks, meaning that a dominant male could be over here, and if one's here, or on the other side of the tank, he'll only establish a territory to which he can technically see, right? So if his territory is over here and he can't see past this rock, he's not going to go after another territory over here. And that's why this is working here, because of visual blocks, and they'd only have a territory about 1 to 2 square feet anyways, but with these guys, their territories extend a lot more. So you do want to create visual barriers and visual blocks. And you know, what are we, 5 minutes into this scape, and we're essentially done. I think it looks absolutely phenomenal. I think you guys will as well. But we're not done. I've got to add in the sand and, of course, the leaf litter. But that's how simple things could be. 4 pieces of rock, a bunch of wood, and some sand and leaf litter, and that's it. People will probably be asking if I'm going to do plants, and I think maybe we'll slowly add to these tanks eventually. Maybe I will get some plants, maybe some crypts or something like that. And I'm already thinking that plants would look good in between this rock and this rock, but that's it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below in the scape overall. It's definitely one of my scapes. Very hectic, but makes a lot of sense for the actual fish as opposed to us. See, the sponge filters right there. It's okay to use sponge filters, guys. So like I said, we're using all different methods of filtration, and we have been throughout the entire gallery's time to show you that it's possible to keep fish. It doesn't really matter what type of equipment or what your budget actually is. It just comes down to doing things properly, or what's ideal for the fish and sizing things properly, I should say. So we're gonna have, of course, we have sponge filters. We got hang on the back filter or over the head filters. We've got, you know, we'll go over this another day, but I gotta get this tank done. I want to do some sand next. Now, when it comes to substrates, this is the tricky part in the aquarium hobby. It's way more important than people think about when selecting their substrate. A lot of people just go with what they think looks good. In my opinion, you gotta really pick what's gonna look good, not only with the fish, their contrast of their coloration, but you also wanna pick a substrate that makes sense for their breeding habits. Now, the Apistogramma is an egg layer that lays sticky eggs on a surface. So we're gonna wanna use a substrate that's light enough for these tiny little guys to actually be able to move out of the way and, you know, move it with their mouths and whatnot. So I'm using a smaller grain sand that's natural in coloration. It leans more towards brown than white, but I also will probably mix in a bit of a pebble as well. So in adding in a little bit of a river pebble, it's just going to make it look a little bit more natural. And what I would suggest doing is don't pour it in evenly, like don't pour it in throughout the entire aquarium, pour it into certain sections of the tank, and get messy with it. Nature isn't planned out. None of this stuff is. So put it in random spots. If you get it on the wood or rocks or whatever, that's fine. It's okay. What I like to see is a little bit of pebbles, sand, pebbles. The pebbles are going to sink throughout the sand anyways. But yeah, this is going to look really good. Yeah, see what I mean? So a little bit over here, and once we fill this tank up, the glass will clear up and all these pebbles will fall off the rocks and whatnot. But it's far more natural looking. This will allow the apistos to kind of dig through it if they want to lay eggs on the bottom or on the side, but if I just did the pebbles, there's no way they're moving those out of the way easily. So you kind of want to pick a substrate that not only you like and aesthetically looks good, but it complements the fish as well, because you guys know that fish will blend into their backgrounds. Having too light or too dark for the wrong fish can make the fish look absolutely horrible. A pebble that, or I'm sorry, a substrate that's ideal for their type of breeding as well. And of course, you know, whether you're going, there's a lot to consider. And I think substrates in general are like one of the last things hobbyists think about, but it's one of the hardest choices that I always have is what's the ideal and what's the perfect substrate. Okay, let's do some finishing touches and see if we can get this filled up. Now the finishing touches are gonna be, I've already boiled them. You boil them so they'll sink. But I've got some catappa leaves. This is fantastic for creating a black water tank or simply making it look a little bit more natural. It really does set the tank off. And if you buy them from somebody who's not price gouging them and taking advantage of a trending thing, I've seen that a few years ago. That's why I don't use these as much as I used to. You should be only paying pennies for these. I mean, at the end of the day, they're leaves. I just throw them anywhere because they're going to go wherever they want anyway. Yeah, just kind of thrown in there, and that's the idea. An Apistogramma aquarium shouldn't look too contrived. It shouldn't be too human touched, if that makes any sense. I'm content with just tossing rocks in. I'm content with literally putting all this in a big barrel and dumping it in, and they'll do absolutely fantastic in it. They'll breed in it, they'll do great in it, so long as you give them the basics. A substrate that they can move around, plenty of hiding places in caves, ideally if you can. Flower pots, clay flower pots, are probably the best thing I could have put in here, but it kind of takes away from the theme. Maybe in the future I'll hide some in the back so you can't see it, just like we did with the sponge filter. So if you have a very basic aquarium and you don't have the budget for fancy equipment or you know, sumps or canister filters, or and you just want to take a water bottle sponge filter and enjoy the hobby on a very minimal budget, I just showed you how you could do it. Just hide it. Hide it in the background, but make sure that it's still accessible. This is a pretty expensive scape though, with the fake rocks, the fake background, that manzanita wood and all this stuff. It adds up really quickly. But mind you, I had all of this, especially the wood, for like 5-6 years now. It's gone from tank to tank to tank. In fact, if we look closely, if we look on the wood, right there, like right that thing, I should just knock it off, but that's glue from when this used to be in the 375 gallon, like 4 years ago. There's more of it right there. It's just crazy glue, and more there. Where I used to glue on the moss, you didn't know it until I showed it, so I don't care. Yeah, so there you have it. I think this looks fantastic. I love it. It's just gorgeous. I love it. Well, I love every new tank. I love every aquarium. But I think this is going to look absolutely gorgeous. I think the fish are going to just, you know, do so well in here. We'll take a closer look at a lot of the details here and some of the things that I fall in love with. And this is how I know that I really like Escape, is where I can look at any part of it and just, I can almost visualize what the fish are going to do there. Like I see them darting around around the back, and maybe there's a pair that, you know, clears out this space and they're laying eggs, and the male's kind of like guarding over here, or, you know, they can go up through this little cave system or around the back, or, you know, maybe under there I see some, and over here's another pair, and then, you know, there's a few. It's just gonna be so cool to watch and see what happens. And I think what I'm most excited about is just to like watch those Apistogramma actually develop and figure out which one's which one's doing what. And it's gonna look absolutely phenomenal. I think you guys will agree with me. So don't judge this tank too harsh. It's about 80% done. Half those fish are gonna come out and half the shells, and I think we'll add in a little bit of plants, probably some Anubias, or maybe some Valisaria. I'm not sure what we'll do over there. But then we of course gotta work on these 2 tanks. And once these 2 tanks are done, that's all you can see on the podcast. And then the very bottom 2, of course you guys know, are quarantine. And then we got these 4 to do. And then we got 680 gallons over there that we got to finish up. But I'm going to fill this tank up now. I'll wait a couple days. It might even be upwards of a week before everything stops floating. We'll move in a cycled sponge filter and cycled media and add in the fish at a later date. We'll do all that in the same video, I guess. But for now, I'll show you guys this. Let me know what you guys think. And this will buy me some time to get the tanks moved in here, because I got all the racking systems completed. So 180 there, 180 there. I painted the wall black. And it looks like I didn't finish painting, but I did. Everything that's going to be exposed is painted. I couldn't get the plywood this weekend. They didn't have any. There's like a plywood shortage right now. It's really weird, but apparently they'll have more on Monday. So I topped this with plywood, put down the sponge, moved the tanks in, and then I could build their filters. But yeah, this place is looking awesome. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that video, like the dwarf aquarium, dwarf fish tanks. We'll keep that theme. Although I do have a secret fish. Some of you guys know about it. Some of you guys have seen it in the past video. Last time I went fish store shopping, I couldn't resist. I had to get it. I was embarrassed. I told you guys I wouldn't impulse buy fish anymore, but I had to. I just had to get it. And I'm not sorry. So I think he's going to get one of those tanks. It is not really a nano fish. If you have any other suggestions for the other tanks that are going to be nano, for example, this piranha tank, everything in there is just tepperet. The piranhas are going into a 180. They're going to actually get tank meats as well. What do you think should go in the piranha tank? And then the Frontosa tank, of course, they'll be going in a 180 as well. But what do you think should go in there? I think this new fish that I just got will go here, or maybe here, and then we'll do nano tanks. Tamara's been asking me to do guppies, and I don't know, they kind of make me itchy or something, but do we do guppies, or do I trick her with endlers and say they're guppies, or what do you guys think I should do? Should we just break down and let her do guppies, or what? 'Cause she really liked the 100-gallon cylinder tank with guppies. Let me know in the comment section below. Tamara, if you're watching, I'm trying to get you some guppies. I just don't know if I want to dedicate an aquarium to them. See you guys in the next video.